Hi, welcome everybody to my first recorded lesson of the school year. I know you're all very, very excited. So let's get started. If you take a look in your notes, and actually I forgot to look at what page today is going to start on, but if you pull those purple notes out that I gave you and you turn to page 3, it is right at the top of page 3 where it says, what do psychologists do? So our objective, you probably want to write down across the top there. This is the objective of distinguishing the different domains of psychology. Now, if we bounce into our study guide again, you'll look at what should students be able to do. This is our 4th learning objective for this unit. So just to refer back to this again here. You'll also see all the terms that you'll need to be familiar with from this learning target. All right, so let's get started. Here's what I mean by this, the different domains of psychology. What we're really talking about is, what do psychologists do? Like, if you get a degree in psychology, what can you do, and what is it that psychologists actually go about their daily lives doing? All right, so there are 3 different branches of psychology when it comes to the different domains, if you will. And these domains kind of break down what do psychologists do. So you have first your experimental psychologists, and these are going to be people, you want to put this down in your notes right now. These are going to be people who are going to spend time like researching human behavior. They're going to be setting up labs. Maybe they're literally setting up labs where they're working on a brain. I mean, that's possible. Or maybe they're observing people, or they're sending out surveys, or whatever that may be, but they are researching human behavior. These are your experimental psychologists. Now, there's a special group of experimental psychologists known as psychometric psychologists, and these are going to be your like number cruncher kind of people. They're not so much going to be doing the research as they're going to be analyzing the data. When the data comes in from the study, they're going to be making tables and charts and graphs about the human behavior that's been recorded. All right, and then your second type of psychologists are going to be your teachers of psychology. So these are going to be people who work in universities, and they're actually going to teach students about psychology. Am I considered a teacher of psychology? Sort of. I don't have a psychology degree per se. I have a certification to teach psychology. So these are going to be people who actually went to school so that they have a psychology degree, so that then they can teach it at a university or a college for that matter. These people would be teaching about all aspects of psychology, which you would learn about in this course. Now, we end up combining the 2 of these types of psychologists kind of together, experimental psychologists and teachers of psychologists, into one domain, if you will, or one branch of what do psychologists do, and this is your academic psychologists. Sometimes psychologists are just experimental psychologists, sometimes they're just teachers of psychology, and sometimes they're both. All right? Okay. So, moving on in life here, I want to talk about applied psychologists. And applied psychologists, you want to put down in your notes, are going to actually apply the knowledge that is learned through surveys and that type of stuff that happens in labs or through observation or whatnot. They're going to actually apply that information to other disciplines in the world, basically. So essentially what's happening is they're taking the psychology principles that are learned about human behavior, and they're using them to help solve practical problems that people have take a look at the list here, in education, in sports, in schools, in businesses, in law enforcement, in human resources. And we're taking what we know about human behavior and we're trying to use it to not only help the lives of other people, but of other people, basically. Okay, so like for example, an educational psychologist would be somebody who would be interested in applying what we know about how the brain works to humans learning. And so these educational psychologists would be very interested in teaching with the brain in mind. Teaching with the best strategies about how the brain best learns, and using memory strategies about how the brain best learns. Sports psychologists, these people would be interested in applying what we know about human behavior to increasing people's performance in any type of sport, which I've already talked about these types of people. So you kind of get the concept here of this domain of psychology, if you will. These people are taking what we know about human behavior and applying it to other disciplines. All right, and then our last branch or domain of psychology is the clinical and counseling psychology. Clinical psychologists are going to be people who have a PhD, and they provide psychotherapy for, and you want to make sure you get this down in your notes, by the way. They provide psychotherapy for people. What I mean by psychotherapy is they help people address any thoughts or feelings or behaviors that they're having, and they help them to deal with those thoughts or behaviors or feelings that they're having to help de-stress their lives and bring more order and function to those people's lives. You would think of these people as like a therapist, if you will. You might have heard that layman's term for clinical psychologists, okay? All right, counseling psychologists, kind of think of these people as the people that we see downstairs, okay? Counseling psychologists, these people have masters in psychology and specifically in counseling. Anyways, they are going to help individuals, or they're going to help families, and they're going to help them with things like careers, relationships, child rearing, those types of things, to really again, help people and let them have a better life, but realize that these people have masters, whereas clinical psychologists tend to have a PhD, okay? The psychiatrists underneath the clinical and counseling psychologists are very special. They may counsel people, they may provide psychotherapy for people, but they also have an MD, meaning they're a medical doctor, which means if somebody comes to them and they have some sort of life issue and a psychiatrist realizes what their issue is, maybe they have some sort of psychological disorder, they can prescribe these people medication to actually like go to the pharmacy and pick up and take to help probably balance the chemicals in their body so that they can go back to having a little bit more functioning lives. So these are the different types of clinical and counseling psychologists. So here's what I need you to do. Of course, you can always pause this at any time and go back and fix your notes. But what I need you to do is I need you to go into Edmodo, if you would please. And in Edmodo, I need you to go into your folder, whatever class you're in, it doesn't really matter. But in your folder, you want to go into the Intro 1 folder. And I need you to open up the Domains of Psychology reading. And then the other thing that I need you to open up is What Do Psychologists Do? Formative Assessment. All right, so that was wrong. Okay, don't do that, just kidding. I need you to open up the okay, this is awesome. It's not in here, but I will put it in here after I make this video because I really don't want to remake this. So the thing that I want you to open up will be a thing that's called Domains of Psychology. What do psychologists do? It'll be a file that says this up across the top. Sorry. Okay, anyways, so you're going to pull this document up. Of course, you have to make a copy of it and all that jazz. But anyways, you're going to pull this document up, and what I would like you to do is read about all the different types of psychologists from this fancy schmancy reading right here, all these areas of specialization or domains. And in your own words, I want you to put on this document right here, what is it that these psychologists do? And then I want you to provide a memory strategy or a way that you're going to remember that an industrial organizational psychologist works for businesses, helps them with human resources type things, helps them to train people in a way that they're going to best remember things, and various other things that industrial organizational psychologists do. Anyways, how can you best remember that this is what they do? Industrial organization. Maybe you draw a picture here. I don't know. Drawing will be kind of interesting on a Chromebook, but maybe you have some sort of memory strategy that you can think of really quick that will help you to remember it. Okay? All right, and so you want to have this filled out before you come to class on Tuesday, because on Tuesday then I am actually going to have you pull up that what do psychologists do formative assessment and work on that and see if you understand the differences between all of these different types of psychologists. Oh, and added bonus, we are probably going to be having a we're probably going to have a guest speaker either Thursday or Friday of this week come in who actually works in the field of psychology. It can tell us a little bit about what he does in the field. So anyways, get ready to live there. So that's all I have today, and I am going to leave you with that. Not bad, 11 minutes. All right, have a good weekend. And if it's not the weekend at this point, I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, have a good night. Bye.